Yeah, and welcome to another video. I'm Brett Papa, and today I'm super pumped. This is my favorite topic on guitar ever. And this is the third and final video in our mixing major and minor pentatonic series. And man, you guys seem to be digging it too. It's the coolest thing I've ever learned on guitar. And it's actually, once I started to utilize this concept and technique, it's actually when I started to enjoy my own phrasing, be like, okay, I like that. That was cool. Before, it was all more about scales and stuff like that, but I never could find the notes and stuff. See, I love like the old blues rock players. Of course, I love Hendrix, and I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I love all these guys who mix major and minor pentatonic like crazy too. But I also really love like Van Halen, Warren DeMartini, all these like ripping 80s bluesy guys, but more aggressive style phrasing. And this is a perfect vehicle for that. Then you got like Angus, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, like on and on. Neil Schon, oh my God, his Stone in Love. The awesome blues solo in the beginning is enough to rip your face off, but then at the end, it's like this whole other world, right? He's a textbook example of just fantastic phrasing. There's an old clip of him. It's a song like old school Journey when he had an afro like as big as the moon. It's called On a Saturday Night, and I think it's from like 76 or something. It's a TV show. Holy crap. The phrasing is so good. It's like blues rock, just terrifying phrasing. Go check it out. Thank me later. All right, so also you guys were asking about the tone. I'll go over that super quick. I have a Nash Telly, Lowler pickups. I have Lowler pickups in every single guitar I own with the exception of one, and that is my Van Halen Strat, and that pickup sounds, holy crap, sounds so good, that Frankenstein guitar. I don't know, it's like their Van Halen pickup. Perfection for rock. But anything else, I have exclusively Lowler pickups. These are the special pickups, Telly specials. And then in my other guitars, I usually use either the 60s or the special single coils, and that humbucker you see in my pink Strat is also a Lowler, and that is an Imperial low wind. And so I always use this pickup because I love the sound. I mean, listen to this. And then you got the neck. I mean, that's just right up my alley. So love that stuff. Going straight into, well, actually not straight into, but close enough, into a 1987 Marshall 50 watt, 1987X, I think to be exact. All that stuff is down in my Sweetwater page. That is an affiliate link, so I do get a little bit from that if you want to support the channel that way. But almost all the gear I use is on that page with the exception of the Divided by 13 amps, the Nash guitars, and the Tuttle guitar. Everything else you can find there. And then I'm going into a Boss equalizer. Check this out. This might be one of those things where it's like everyone's searching for the ultimate overdrive pedal. Just buy an EQ pedal. Check this out. Already sounds freaking great. That amp is just a home run. But you add a Boss EQ pedal. It's just that little bit of extra pizzazz. Total Van Halen trick. If you guys like Van Halen, early Van Halen tones, Marshall with an EQ pedal. A little like wicked hump in there. Frick, that's the key. EQ pedals bump the gain up on the pedal and it acts almost like an overdrive to hit the front of your amp a little bit harder. Wicked tone. It's going straight into the auxes, right? So there's no speakers involved, but there is a 412 cabinet simulation in there. And I think I use the 57 and the 160 mics. That goes straight into an Apollo. So there is no speaker in this whole chain. And that's my tone. I got a video coming on my whole tone and exactly how I do everything. And then there's just reverb and post, but that's coming soon, probably next week. So that's it for that. Now, as far as mixing major and minor pentatonic goes, that's what we're here for, right? There's a whole course down below. That's what this whole series is about, kind of get you up to speed, get you ready for the course. Thank you so much for all of you out there who have purchased the course. It's been crazy how many of you have been buying it and also how many of you have been leaving me awesome notes, how much you're digging the course. So check that out. Down below, it's 50% off now, but there'll always be a discount code down below. Not 50%, but you know, there'll be a little something there, a little love for you. Check that out. It's 6-hour course plus 6 hours of bonus material to really hammer in this whole concept. But today is all about how do you use the scale? Like, how do you actually turn mixing major and minor pentatonic scales into music? Okay, so we've learned step 1 was just adding swagger to the typical minor box, and how we did that was just added the flat 5, which is this note, and the major 3rd into that scale. That sounds weird, but check it out all together. Now you can use that to make licks like, so it takes the normal pentatonic licks up just whoosh, like 3 notches, and it's just 2 notes that's all over the place. You're literally just looking for A major chords inside your minor boxes. Right, and then if you add that swagger note, the flat 5, so you get cool. All that awesome stuff. Again, that's a whole video on that already. Second video in the series was about implementing and putting the major pentatonic shapes inside of the minor. Trick to doing that is if you're using, say, minor 1 box, the next shape up, so shape 2 in major pentatonic, will be inside of our minor box 1 framework. So it's in the same spot. Here's major box 2. So when you combine that stuff, there's just almost every note works. So you got, and you can imagine the possibilities once you start doing that. Okay, all that stuff, that jibba jabba, is just putting those 2 together. Now, the point we need to really emphasize in this 3rd video is we want to take chord shapes like A's. I'll show you how we're going to use all these different chords and why they work, but like an A, a D, and a G. Like, how do we start to target these chord tones to make sure that our licks aren't just running scales, they actually have a melody to them and they sound melodic. So if I took my major shapes and just really concentrated on the notes of an A chord, so I have a D shape or C shape, depending on how you want to look at it, right? Both CAGED shapes. I got that one right there. I got my E shape of the A chord right here. And I got my A right here. Okay, so if I used my major pentatonic shapes, 3, 2, and 1. And I didn't want to just make it sound like a scale. What I would do is I would really target those A's. Right? But, right, there's my 3rd, root, 5th. Down to my 5th, 3rd, root. Using 2 notes of the chord, the 3rd and the 5th. Right, so that is something you need to start doing as well, is like, how do I utilize the actual chord inside of those, minor or major shapes, so I'm hearing the sound of that chord. The chord is going to be in the next step part of a progression that we're playing over, right? We got this jam track. There's a link to the jam track in the description box as well that we're playing over today. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna search for those A chords inside of my minor boxes and just play around with how to get sounds out of those. So I'm gonna look for this A. This is gonna be all my major thinking inside of my minor boxes. So I'm gonna use minor box 2, minor box 1, minor box 5, and come up with some licks. Now I know when I do that, when I'm here, minor box 2, if I think about our, formula that I had, remember it's the next major box up inside of the minor box, right? So this would be major box 3 inside of minor box 2, right? And then here would be major box 2 inside of minor box 1, right? And then here's the 5th, right? That's the minor box, but the first major pentatonic box is right there, right? So thinking about the chords inside, the A chords inside of there, and then where the major and the minor shapes can converge. Check this out. I'm not gonna try to phrase and make killer phrasing. I'm just going to point out how to use the sound of minor shapes with A chords inside of them, and just give you ideas about how you can start to develop and start to hear the notes that you want to use in your own phrasing. So check this out. Oh, hold on a second. My computer's on strike. Here we go. So I'll just go for strictly major right now. All right, all A's. Now if I add some minor scale tones in there, right, there's that A chord. This is my box 2. That's minor box 2 with the major box 3. Right, and I just slid up from major box 3 to major box 4. Now, minor box 3 is right here. I have an A chord right here. Right, I walk down to minor 5. Got me into major 1. Okay, So great, right? We got the A majors inside of the minor boxes. We also utilize the sound of our major pentatonic scales, also focusing on that A chord. Now that's great, but there's more sounds than that in our jam track. And this chord right here basically takes from this shape right here of a D chord, but you're basically leaving the A in the bass. Right, you got an A here. You're just leaving it on the top, gets the ultimate Southern rock chord. You know, you get all the... You get all that cool stuff, right? Which is also mixing major and minor pentatonic. So good in rhythm. So many cool things that you can do. When you think about it, check this out. Basically, that's from the minor. All that stuff's mixing major and minor pentatonic as well, so it works in rhythm too. Yes, we can solo while playing rhythm. Okay, so there's that. But what I want to point out too is now that we know that there's a D involved, I want to find those Ds. So we got a D here, we got a D here, we got a D here, we got a D here. All that stuff, if you know your CAGED shapes, got a course on that too. Check that out at brettpapa.com. That's the biggest, like, aha moment for my guitar playing ever, was learning the CAGED system. There's just, in my opinion, it's the ultimate cheat hack code to melodic guitar soloing. But more on that later, but you'll see it used right here. Okay, so that would give me, if I started looking at my boxes, okay, so minor shape 1. I have this A chord right here. And I have that D sound right here. So this note. So we got. Now check it out when I play the track. Listen for those D. I'm gonna go to A chords and D chords, all right? I'm just gonna like Coldplay action it. Watch, check this out. Thank you all, good night! Sounded good though, right? I mean, I was using both of those chords and it was like, oh, okay, those notes sound great over that progression. So the secret would be, how do I implement those particular notes to make more melodic stuff? Now, I'm gonna go through the scale and I'm just gonna hit those tones, A chord tones, D chord tones, inside of my minor box, not working on awesome phrasing here. I'm not like trying to create memorable solos, just find cool notes, knowing that those A chord tones and those D chord tones sound good. All right, so check this out. Minor box 1. Sounds okay. I could, use that scale and sound okay. Okay, I can add that major third and the swagger note, the flat 5. Sounds awesome too. If I started concentrating on where that D is, Now, even though I'm just kind of jamming and not really trying to create a memorable melody, do you see how adding those chord tones in there and really kind of trying to tailor the lick around those automatically makes it sound even though it's just jamming and it's not like a memorable lick, it starts to sound like it goes with the progression that you're playing. And that's really how you utilize mixing these together, these major and minor scales together, with the addition of the chord tones in there to really create something memorable. Now, I also found by doing this that I was stumbling across notes of a G chord. It's harder. You know, this only works for a little bit, but the notes of a G chord sound super cool too. So I'm gonna go A, D, G, all right? So check this out. And the G works more over that chord, right? So we got A, here's the D, and here's the G. All right, so that's the G right here. Going into that G note, back to my D, back into my A, right? So I got a G here, a D to A right here. So check it out, phrasing right here, out of the, I'm gonna use the 4th position major pentatonic. Right, that all is A to G, D chord, G, right? That, right, D chord notes. So I'm bending into that G, bending into the A chord up here. That note right there is bending into my A chord. Okay, so. Now it starts to almost sound kind of mixolydian, and it's interesting because one of the things I love to tell people is if you know major and minor pentatonic and you know how to stick the chords of your progression inside those scales, you end up seeing inadvertently how to play the nodes, the modes. And when you concentrate on the chords inside of pentatonic shape, it actually shows you how to hit the right notes. So when you even learn those modal shapes, it shows you kind of get a leapfrog ahead. You're not just learning a new shape, you're learning which of the notes inside the shapes actually make it sound like a mode and give you that cool flavor, right? So here we go, let's back it up. I'll go through and I'll just find A chords, D chords, G chords. All right, let's go up here. A, G, D. All right, we can do it here. So I know, like right here, Now right there, what I did was I used everything we've learned so far, and this is where it gets super freaking great. I used the fifth shape of major pentatonic. Right, here's the A chord, so I knew where my chord was. I knew here's the fifth shape, which is a great place to really hammer those A chord tones in a cool way. All A chord tones. Now I also know that my minor shape 4 is right here. So this note, super awesome. That's the one note slide in is such a cool. Oops, right there. So we got. Jack Roush. If you guys don't know who Jack Roush is, do yourself a humongous favor. Check him out. He's got the greatest phrasing. Oh, it's so good. But he does that a lot too. A lot of the guys in town, they slide into the note that they want from one fret away, either up or down. And it's such a cool way to take the same licks, but just add a little, breathe a new life into them. Instead of going like, slide in, right? Instead of going, right? That's another trick. It's so awesome. It's so simple, but it makes such a profound difference in the sound of your phrases, right? So I like doing that. All major stuff. But if I want in that one minor note, but if I really wanted to take this up a notch, I could think, okay, here's my minor box. And I know I got major here. A major, I got my D here. I got my G here. Right, go back. And I could go to here or here. So I take that minor box 4 and I remember A chord, D chord, D chord, G, D, A. So all those notes are potential notes. So you can come up with cool licks like, and hammer all of those notes from those chords, right? So check this out. Let me pocket that a little better. Let's try it again. Right? So that starts to get you cool sounding pentatonic licks. But the other cool thing is once you start, really digesting all of this, you can take the mixing of the major and minor, the scale shapes, right? But you can also inject those chord tones inside of them to come up with uncommon sounding, unique sounding phrases. So check this out. If I took, if I'm thinking about those G chords, D chords, A chords, my scale shapes, I got major, I got minor, minor, major. I can start to use both, like, I'm using A minor box 2. But I'm seeing A chord, G chord, D chord, A chord. So you can get all those cool. All that stuff by seeing. And in that lick, just like that, I hit the notes of this A chord. Right? But I used a note of the major pentatonic scale, minor pentatonic scale, back to major pentatonic scale. All right. Right, so you can start to get all these trippy sounding licks by doing that, and it's unique sounding, it's different. You can use that other kind of pentatonic phrasing in there, the common kind of stuff, but you can also use really uncommon sounding stuff to create your own style. And that's what we're trying to do here. Get you to sound like you, not me or anybody else, but you. Okay, so check this out. Right, or maybe. So you can add like a little lick like that to get some different kind of flavor, right? You can add arpeggios. Right, you can do. Right? Or like, let's see. And I'll just sit and I'll fumble around and try to think about those, where those chord tones are in different intervals I can use. Love that sound. Right, or maybe then start to use all those notes to try to think of like a real melody, right? Maybe. Back to a melody. That's what I do. I just suck all day until I find something. I'm like, yeah, there it is. But that's part of it, right? You got to just go around and around and around and try to use the scale. You got to try to mix the scales. Then you got to try to add the chord tones in there start by using the chord tones in the minor box, then find them in the major boxes, then start to add the two together. And then once you get a handle on what the potentials are, really start to just sit there and see if you can hum an actual phrase and create music. And then you'll have all these other creative options to kind of add the flash and the pizzazz to it. But point being, once you can see those chords inside the scales, that's when the music comes. That's when you make the stuff. That's when you get like the David Gilmour, like the all chord tones. I got a lesson on that where I break down and I show you how he uses all those shapes, all those different chord shapes to create that solo. Most textbook perfect solo ever. That whole song, incredible. But he's like definitely one of those guys that really focuses on chord tones in his solos, and he creates some of the best solos of all time. All these guys, Clapton, Angus. If you're gonna learn mixing major and minor pentatonic, you've got to learn Shook Me All Night Long. You've got to learn Badge. You've got to learn some Jimmy Page stuff. These guys are the masters. And then that's not even counting, like, for sure have to learn Leonard Skinner stuff. And these guys really show you how to do that in a really melodic way. Even if you're like full metal guy or whatever, I promise you, your metal playing, your country playing, jazz playing, any kind of playing you do, mixing major and minor pentatonic will help. Those guys will help you, show you how to really do that in an iconic, memorable way. I mean, you don't forget their solos. You can hum what they're doing, right? And that's the other thing, is always make sure that there's a part in there somewhere where if somebody heard your solo, 1, 2, 3 times, you could hum it. You can hum an Angus solo. You can hum a Clapton solo. You can hum like Stranglehold, right? From Nugent. That's like, I could hear that whole entire solo in my head, right? And that's just because the notes go so good with what the song is, right? And so there's countless examples of that. Journey, Faithfully, Lights, all these like incredible. To me, I think Neil Schon is my favorite real bluesy player that plays in a rock context. I mean, obviously Eddie's my all-time favorite, but like somebody that really, really has a handle on how to really play blues great and really play rock great. Neil Schon stuff to beat. Go through those, like the Departure album. If you're not familiar with that album, go right now, stop what you're doing, and listen to the whole album start to finish. The playing is ridiculous. Anyways, so that is the whole series. Hope you guys enjoyed that series. Again, the course is down below in the description box, a link. This week, it's 50% off. If you don't catch it this week, I'll leave a link down there with a discount on it anyways. That'll be like an evergreen code. So check that out. That's what funds everything you see here. That's what makes me be able to bring in all the guests from all over the country. They've got so many coming in this year that's going to be amazing. That's how we fund all the Players Perspective courses, all the guest courses, all my stuff. It's all because of you and your support at brettpapa.com. Plus, you can help out with the gear stuff. I don't make a ton of money off of the affiliate links, but if you want to also support in that way and you need some new gear, my Sweetwater page is down below and it has almost everything in my studio. I'm gonna do a full studio tour here probably in the next week or two and show you all the stuff that I use on an everyday basis. Most of the questions I get, or at least half of the questions I get, are all about how I get the sound that I have. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna show you, and all that stuff is really easily available, and you can sound just like that too if you check out those videos. So make sure you subscribe and click the bell, and I will show you all that kind of stuff coming up in the videos ahead. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much to all of you out there who have bought the course. You guys rock. I'll catch you next time.